Thomas Brennan discovered his ability in a car accident. Not the crash itself. The aftermath. Trapped in the wreckage. Gasoline leaking. Smoke everywhere. Pain radiating through his body from a compound fracture in his left leg. That's when the fire came. Not from the car. From Thomas. From his hands. Flames erupting from his palms like he'd struck a match inside his bones. The fire spread to the gasoline. The car exploded. Thomas was thrown clear. Landed 20 feet away on wet grass. The flames followed him, dancing across his skin, wrapping around his arms. Hot but not burning him. Emergency responders found him lying in a circle of scorched earth, flames still flickering around his body, his leg twisted at an impossible angle. The fire died when the paramedics gave him morphine. Just stopped. Like someone had turned off a switch. Thomas passed out before he could understand what had happened. He woke up 3 days later in the hospital. Compound fracture. Internal bleeding. Concussion. Surgery to repair the leg. Pins. Rods. Physical therapy for months. The doctors said he was lucky to be alive. Said the explosion should have killed him. Said they didn't understand how he'd gotten clear of the wreckage. Thomas remembered. The fire. The flames coming from his own hands. Pushing him away from the car. Protecting him. He told no one. Because how do you explain that you created fire? That it came from inside you? That pain was the trigger? Thomas tested it carefully over the next 6 months. He learned the rules fast. And hated every one of them. The fire only appeared when he was in significant pain. Not discomfort. Not mild injury. Real, acute, physical pain. The kind that made your vision blur and your body scream. The intensity of the flames correlated directly with the intensity of the pain. Small pain meant small flames. Severe pain meant inferno-level heat. The fire was controllable while active. Thomas could direct it, shape it, use it, but he couldn't summon it without hurting himself first. And the fire had one mercy. It didn't burn him. Never. His own flames were harmless to his body. But they burned everything else normally. Thomas Brennan could control fire. But only when he was suffering. Thomas was 31 years old. EMT. Chicago Fire Department. 8 years on the job. Seen everything. Burns. Trauma. The kind of work that made you appreciate life because you saw how easily it ended. The accident had happened during a routine call. Drunk driver ran a red light. T-boned Thomas's ambulance. His partner died on impact. Thomas survived but barely. The ability felt like insult added to injury. Here's a power. Here's something incredible. But you can only access it through pain. Through the same suffering you spend your life trying to alleviate in others. Thomas should have reported it. Should have gone to doctors. Specialists. The FBI program he'd heard rumors about. Instead, he buried it. Went back to work. Tried to pretend it didn't exist. But the ability didn't care what he wanted. The first time Thomas used it deliberately was 6 months after the accident. Warehouse fire. Massive. 3-alarm. Multiple people trapped inside. The structure was collapsing. Too dangerous for standard entry. Thomas was on scene. Not as a responder. As a spectator. Still on medical leave. Still recovering. He watched the firefighters pull back. Heard them on the radio. 5 people trapped. No way to reach them. The heat was too intense. The smoke too thick. They were going to die. Thomas looked at his hands. Thought about the ability. About what it could do. About what it cost. Then he grabbed a piece of broken glass from the ground. Pressed it into his palm. Until blood welled up and pain exploded through his nervous system. The fire came instantly. Flames erupting from his hands. From his arms. Wrapping around his body like armor. Hot enough to create a barrier against the warehouse fire. Hot enough to push back the heat. Thomas walked into the building. The warehouse fire couldn't touch him. His own flames were hotter. More intense. They carved a path through the smoke and debris. Protected him from the structure collapsing around him. He found 3 of the 5 trapped people. Led them out. His flames creating a corridor of safety through hell. When he emerged, the firefighters stared. His uniform was burned away. His skin was covered in soot and blood from the cut on his palm. But he was walking, alive, with 3 survivors. "How did you?" someone started. Thomas collapsed. The pain from his hand was fading. The adrenaline was crashing. The fire died. They took him to the hospital, treated the self-inflicted wound, asked questions he didn't answer. But 3 people were alive. 3 people who wouldn't have survived without him. Thomas knew he'd crossed a line. Knew he couldn't uncross it. The pattern repeated. Thomas started carrying a small knife. Hidden. Every shift. Just in case. When situations got desperate. When people were going to die. When normal methods failed. Thomas would cut himself. Trigger the pain. Summon the fire. Save lives. He kept the wounds small. Strategic. Form. But places that would hurt but heal. Places that wouldn't cripple him long term. But the cuts added up. Scar tissue built. Thomas's body became a map of self-inflicted injuries. Each one a life saved. Each one a price paid. His colleagues noticed. "You're bleeding again." "Cut myself on glass." "Broken window." "It happens." They believed him. For a while. Then the frequency became suspicious. Thomas was getting hurt too often. Too consistently. Always during major incidents. His captain called him in. "You're either the unluckiest EMT I've ever met or you're doing something I don't understand. Which is it?" "Unlucky," Thomas said. "I don't believe you. But I also don't have proof. So here's what's going to happen. You're taking a psych eval. Standard procedure after repeated injuries. If you pass, you stay. If you don't, you're on desk duty pending investigation." Thomas took the eval. Lied through every question. Barely. But he knew his time was limited. Eventually someone would figure it out. Eventually the pattern would be too obvious to ignore. The FBI found him 8 months after the warehouse fire. "Agent Wilson." Same pitch. Different angle. "Mr. Brennan, we've been tracking your incidents. The warehouse fire. The apartment building. The bridge collapse. You keep showing up at impossible rescues. Keep surviving conditions that should kill you. And people keep noticing flames around you that don't behave normally." Thomas didn't respond. Wilson pulled out medical records. "You've also got a pattern of self-inflicted injuries. Burns. Always before major incidents. Always healing just enough before the next one. I'm clumsy. You're pyrokinetic. You can generate and control fire. But there's a trigger. Something that activates the ability. And based on your injury pattern, I think that trigger is pain." Thomas wanted to lie. Wanted to deny. But Wilson had too much evidence. Too much documentation. "What do you want?" Thomas asked. "To help you. To give you resources. Training. Support. So you can use your ability without destroying yourself in the process." "I'm not interested." "Why not?" "Because using my ability means hurting myself. And I've spent 8 years as an EMT learning to minimize suffering. I'm not interested in a job that requires me to maximize it." Wilson leaned forward. "You're already hurting yourself. Every major fire. Every rescue. You cut yourself to trigger the flames. We've documented 17 instances in 8 months. You're going to run out of unmarked skin eventually." Thomas looked at his arms. At the scars. Wilson was right. The self-inflicted wounds were accumulating. Soon there wouldn't be anywhere left to cut that hadn't already been damaged. "What are you offering?" Thomas asked. "The team. Medical support. Strategic deployment. We'd only use you when absolutely necessary. When lives hang in the balance. And we'd help manage the cost." "You mean you'd help me hurt myself more efficiently? We'd help you hurt yourself less frequently. For situations that matter." Thomas thought about the 3 people from the warehouse. About the dozen others he'd saved since. About the scars covering his body. About whether trading pain for lives was sustainable long-term. "I need to think about it," Thomas said. He thought about it for 3 days. Then there was another fire. Apartment complex. 40 units. Multiple families. The fire had cut off all exits. People were trapped on upper floors. Thomas was on scene. His unit had responded. They were setting up triage, preparing for casualties, preparing for deaths they couldn't prevent. Thomas looked at the building, at the flames, at the people screaming from windows. Then he looked at his knife, at his arms, at the unmarked space on his right forearm. He cut deep, deeper than necessary, because the pain needed to be massive. The flames needed to be strong enough to breach the building, to create a path, to save 40 people. The fire erupted, massive, overwhelming. Thomas felt his consciousness wavering from the pain but pushed through, directed the flames, created a corridor through the building, multiple exits, multiple escape routes. People ran through flames that didn't burn them, through a tunnel of fire that Thomas was maintaining through sheer will and agony. All 40 residents made it out. 0 casualties. Thomas collapsed when the last person cleared. The knife was still in his hand, blood pooling around him, his fire dying as he lost consciousness. He woke up in the hospital 3 days later. Wilson was there. "That was the most reckless thing I've ever witnessed," Wilson said. "You nearly bled out. The cut on your arm was inches from the radial artery. I saved 40 people. You almost killed yourself doing it. This is exactly why we want you in the program, so you don't have to make choices like that alone." Thomas looked at his arm, bandaged, stitched, another scar to add to the collection. "What's the survival rate for your operatives?" he asked. 85% over 5 years, meaning 15% die. "Yes." "What's the survival rate for someone who keeps cutting himself to generate fire?" Wilson was quiet. "Lower. Much lower." "Then I don't have much choice, do I?" Thomas joined the close call unit 6 weeks later. They gave him training, taught him pain management, showed him how to trigger the ability with minimal injury. Pressure points, nerve clusters, ways to generate acute pain without permanent damage. But there was no way around the fundamental rule. Pain was the trigger. Fire was the result. One didn't exist without the other. Thomas ran 14 missions over the next 18 months. Industrial fires, chemical explosions, situations where normal firefighters couldn't operate, where temperatures exceeded safe limits, where only someone who could generate protective flames had a chance. Each mission required him to hurt himself. Sometimes small injuries, sometimes significant, always calculated to generate just enough pain to produce the flames needed for the task. The scars accumulated. His body became a testament to every life saved, every fire controlled, every mission completed. His teammates noticed. Ray Torres, who couldn't feel heat, James Bridger, who could stop his heart, others with abilities that cost them in different ways. "Does it ever get easier?" Thomas asked Ray once. "No. You just get better at living with the cost." "I'm running out of body parts that aren't scarred." "Then you're probably close to done. That's how it works. The ability uses you up. Eventually there's nothing left." Thomas knew, could feel it. The cumulative damage. The way his body was breaking down. Not from the fire, from the pain required to generate it. The breaking point came during a mission in Detroit. Chemical plant. Explosion. Fire spreading to residential area. Thousands of people at risk. Thomas's job was to create a fire break. Use his flames to burn a corridor that would stop the chemical fire from spreading. He cut deep, both palms, generated massive flames, created the barrier. It worked. The chemical fire stopped. Thousands saved. 0 casualties in the residential area. But Thomas's hands were destroyed. The cuts were too deep. The damage too severe. Nerve damage. Tendon damage. Even with surgery, he'd never have full function again. Wilson visited him in recovery. "I'm sorry. We pushed too hard." "No. I pushed too hard. I knew the risks. I chose to go deep because the alternative was letting people die. You can't do this anymore. Your hands. I know. I'm done. Can't hold a knife. Can't make the cuts. Can't trigger the ability even if I wanted to. We'll give you full medical. Disability. Pension. You served with distinction. I served until I broke. That's not distinction. That's just running out of body parts to sacrifice. Thomas Brennan retired at 33. 2 years of active duty. 14 missions. Over 200 lives saved. At the cost of functional use of his hands. He moved to a small town in Montana. Got a desk job. Data entry. The kind of work you could do with limited hand mobility. Boring. Predictable. The ability was still there. Theoretically. But Thomas couldn't trigger it anymore. Couldn't cut himself. Couldn't generate the pain needed to summon the flames. He was powerless. Finally. Permanently. He told himself that was a relief. That living without the ability was freedom. No more cutting. No more scars. No more choosing between pain and lives saved. But the truth was more complicated. The call came 6 months after his retirement. Wildfire. Montana. Near his town. Spreading fast. Wind pushing it toward residential areas. Evacuation underway, but not everyone would make it in time. Thomas stood on his porch watching the smoke. Feeling the familiar pull. The awareness that he could help. That his ability could create a firebreak. Could save the town. But his hands were useless. He couldn't make the cuts. Couldn't trigger the pain. Couldn't generate the flames. Unless Thomas went inside. Found a hammer. Looked at his hands. At the scarred, damaged tissue. At the fingers that barely worked anymore. Thought about the people evacuating. About the homes about to burn. About the ability sitting dormant inside him because he couldn't hurt himself badly enough to wake it up. Then he thought about something else. Something worse. He didn't need his hands. He needed pain. Significant pain. Acute pain. His hands were already damaged. But his legs weren't. His ribs weren't. His body had other parts that could generate the pain needed. Thomas picked up the hammer. Raised it. Aimed at his shin. Then stopped. This wasn't heroism. This was self-destruction. This was using his body as fuel until there was nothing left. He'd already sacrificed his hands. How much more was he supposed to give? How much pain was one town worth? How many bones? How much permanent damage? Thomas put the hammer down. Called 911. Reported the fire's position. Helped coordinate evacuation routes using his knowledge of the area. Did everything he could without hurting himself. The town survived. Most of it. 10 homes lost. 0 casualties. The wind shifted at the last moment. Pushed the fire away from the main residential area. It would have been better if Thomas had used his ability. Fewer homes lost. Faster containment. But he would have shattered his own leg to make it happen. And that price, that permanent, irreversible price, was too high. Thomas Brennan is 35 now. 2 years since retirement. 4 years since the ability manifested. 4 years of controlling fire through self-inflicted pain. He still has the ability. Still could use it. If he was willing to hurt himself badly enough. If he was willing to break bones. Burn flesh. Cause damage that would never fully heal. But he's not willing anymore. He gave 8 years to emergency medical work. 2 years to the close call unit. His hands to the Detroit mission. He's given enough. He works his desk job. Lives in his small house. Keeps his head down. Avoids situations where he might be tempted to hurt himself for the greater good. Because Thomas learned the truth that took too long to accept. Having power doesn't mean you have to use it. Being able to help doesn't mean you have to help every time. And trading your body for other people's safety isn't heroism. It's just a slow form of suicide. He could control fire, but only when hurt. Which meant every time he saved someone, he destroyed a piece of himself. And after years of that trade, there wasn't much of Thomas left to sacrifice. Some abilities empower you. Some enhance you. Some make you stronger. His just made him choose between other people's lives and his own body. Over and over. Until the choice became impossible. Until there was nothing left to give. Thomas Brennan could control fire. Incredible fire. Protective fire. Life-saving fire. But the cost was his own pain. His own injury. His own permanent damage. And eventually, he ran out of body parts he was willing to sacrifice. Now he lives with scarred hands. Limited mobility. A desk job. A quiet life. and the knowledge that somewhere inside him, the fire still waits, ready to erupt, ready to save lives. But only if he's willing to hurt himself first. And Thomas isn't willing anymore. He's given enough, sacrificed enough, bled enough. The fire can stay dormant. The ability can remain unused. The power can fade. Because survival sometimes means accepting that you can't save everyone, that you can't keep destroying yourself, that choosing not to help is still a choice, and sometimes it's the right one. Thomas Brennan could control fire, but only when hurt. And after years of hurting himself, he finally chose to stop. That's not weakness. That's not cowardice. That's just self-preservation. And sometimes, self-preservation is the only heroism left.